Let's move into Real Housewives of Orange County. Lindsay, what were your thoughts on this one?
So, like I said, I've only seen half of the first season of Orange County. So, coming into this, things that stood out, I know a little bit about each like person just from like recapping things in the podcast land, but just kind of takeaways. I really like Emily. Um, the there were two scenes that I really liked. One, the very end, where Shannon is like, "What do you have that's fat free here?" And then the waitress recommended a salad, and she got a burger, and I was like,
Yeah.
I feel that in my heart. And she was like, "But no bread." And then Emily was like, "I'm gonna get a loaf of bread." And so I was like, "That's like all I needed." And then the FaceTime that Shannon and Emily had that got heated, and then like Emily was trying to like end it and like couldn't end it. I like, again, not having watched any of this season, I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. And then just yeah, I think those are my two favorite scenes. Um, I don't and maybe I was just confused because this, like me coming into this episode, but I am very confused about Shannon and John's relationship. Like, if there's this huge scandalous secret, or if it's just like, as she says, relationship problems that are normal, but the other girls make it sound like it's not normal. So that was all confusing to me. I don't know if that's been talked about like through this whole season, but I was just like, um, it was just interesting that they didn't go to her party because of all that. So I wasn't sure if I was just lost in all of that.
Yeah, I feel like, what this secret is that Shannon is hiding about her and John. I feel like it is about John's kid not liking Shannon.
Yeah, she
Like
said, yeah.
that was yeah, that was the part that she seemed the most sensitive about, and also some of the rumors that have kind of circulated around her this season have involved, her not wanting to or not spending the night over at John's, and them not moving in together. And I feel like all of that could be a symptom of, her kid not liking her. And so yeah, that's my guess as to what it is. But you're right, in this episode it's really hard to gather what is actually going on, because I think that John and Shannon, to a degree, are really trying to rewrite the narrative in this episode. It seems like they're really trying to be like, oh yeah, it's like just normal relationship things, and like throwing out other examples. And as Gina said about how the information that Shannon brought up about her, but
Right.
setting something else on fire in order to get people to look at that and not look over there. I think she definitely did that with Gina, but she was also doing that with whatever else she could set on fire.
Yeah, I get that vibe from them that they all are just, they all dig up stuff about each other and just want to, like, I guess kind of all the housewives do that. But just, I listened to Tamra a little bit on the podcast that she does with Teddy Mellencamp, and I'm just like, Tamara, I don't get any vibe that I could like trust you like at all. And it's funny because she was barely in this episode. I feel like we only saw her at the party scene. Um, and I did laugh when she was like, she made some kind of comment about like them not coming, but then she was like, but if this would have happened to me, I probably wouldn't have came either. Like she
Yeah.
that but yeah, I definitely don't get I do not trust Tamra. And then Gina, I don't she didn't really stand out to me. The ending part with her and Jen's conversation about like the DUI, and Shannon seems to bring that up a lot. And then how she brought up her kids, Shannon brought up her kids maybe being taken away if they hadn't intervened. I was like, whew, like I understand Gina getting upset about that. Again, I don't know much about like the DUI in that situation since I haven't watched Orange County. But and then Jen, she's new this year, right? Is this her first season?
Yeah, this is their first season.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't she I think was in like a few scenes as well. So I know there's a lot of drama with like her and Ryan and like her ex-husband. I've been like keeping up a little bit on that, but I really just I really enjoyed every scene with Emily in it. I really like her, and then Shannon kind of cracked me up this episode too.
Yeah, I think Shannon is just kind of naturally funny, and Emily is really funny too. But there's something very just comedic about the way that Shannon navigates situations, and it's so messy and like,
Yes.
but like she's so like physical in the way that she like reacts to things, and just there's a reason that she's been on the show for so long, and she's constantly giving the camera something, and you know, even if it's not her intention to.
Yeah,
she's just a naturally hilarious person. Just her gestures, her delivery is just always really funny.
Yeah, her facial expressions are wild. I enjoyed her.
I do think it was a really good episode for Emily too. I thought starting out with like her like repping the Innocence Project, which is like an actual good cause, and it's not like you know, they have like causes they support, but it's cool to have like an actual like very effective cause, and it's not one that's like, oh, we're raising money for
homeless, not toothless.
Yeah. People who can't afford silk bows to tie in their show pony's hair or something. Just like and I thought her like apology to Shannon was really good. Like it was like, we've seen Tamra deliver some like really over the top apologies this season, but Emily's was like felt like very like sincere but also complete, as like and I buy it totally. Like I really thought that Emily was like angry at Shannon because she was looking out for Shannon, because she wanted to like shake Shannon by the shoulders and make her realize that you're calling me and saying your relationship sucks when you're drunk, so stop defending it. Like, realize that this is your truth. Like I thought it really came from a place of actually caring for Shannon rather than from a place of like, you know, having her own strategies or having a, you know, trying to play her own agenda. It seemed like she genuinely was like, she was genuinely upset with Shannon because she cares for Shannon, because she wants the best for her and thinks that Shannon is not out for the best, that she's settling basically, and is trying to cover up for a relationship that she's not actually happy with. So I actually thought that Emily apologized well and came off as sincere. And I thought she came off looking good this episode.
What other highlights did you have from Orange County, Dylan?
That Jenn has a daughter named Everly with like EIGH at the end. I think that's so cool when white women name their kids stuff like that. I want to name my kids. I don't have kids. If I did, I think I want to like, it seems like a really fun game, like a puzzle to just like come up with like common names, but then just try to like misspell them in like the most convoluted way possible. That seems really fun. I feel like I could get really into that. And then her sons have names like, I don't know, like Dawson and Harrington, and like, you know, those names that sound like the names of towns in Alaska or something. Also very cool. So that's all I wrote about Jenn. So she has cool names for her kids. And then half of my notes is just like Senor Noodles and like huge letters. There's a guy named Senor Noodles, and he's like, he's hilarious.
I liked him.
They hired Senor Noodles to do this party and wear little tiny sombreros. This is a hilarious party. It's really funny. He's just there, you know, just grilling meat, telling the worst jokes ever. I do choose to believe the worst about John, because he actually laughed when Senor Noodles held up a steak and said, "The stakes are high."
He loved that so much.
Yeah.
Very sus.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, terrible person for sure. But Senor Noodles is awesome. I'd book him for my party. And of course, Tamra will like take the tequila gun as soon as she sees it and just start going to town, just try to take somebody's eye out with tequila. Great.
I'm surprised she wasn't strapped already. And she was going to put someone's eye out. And we saw on Vanderpump Rules this season how that went for James when he got the water that he thought was tequila in his eye.
Yeah. I do feel for Shannon a lot going through this, because I think she's had some vulnerable moments this season, it was, I mentioned before that one of my favorite moments was when she was like kind of tearfully sticking up for Jen's relationship, from the perspective that like her relationship's going to end badly, but let her figure that out for herself, because like she just wants her to have like a temporarily loving relationship, even if it ends terribly. I feel for like Shannon's perspective and how like she wants to defend her relationship, which doesn't sound like it's going very good, but she just wants to at least have this, what she has now, and kind of defend it. I do think she's being unreasonable to attack people who like mostly just seem to want the best for her, except for Heather. I don't think Heather wants the best for her.
Yeah.
But Emily and to some extent Gina, I think, do want the best for her. So I think that she's being unreasonable to throw them under the bus for that. And Tamra's just playing like all sides at once, but Tamra's great for that because she's like totally open about it.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, Lindsay, like when she doesn't even pretend that she's like a moral actor, like that will like has like principles that are like unflexible. Like she's totally open about the fact that she like just changes whoever side she's on, or like whatever she believes is based in the situation. And that's what I love about her, that she's chaotic and she's like doesn't even pretend to be moral. She just like she just does what she wants to do. Yeah, that's about it. But yeah, mostly I just love that like bizarre fucking party that Shannon organized, which is, it's just such a Shannon party, you know? It's so Shannon to like hire Set Your Noodles. Like, where did you find Set Your Noodles, Shannon?
And was it truly just because it was National Taco Day? Like that's what the party was for? I'm so like I'm all for throwing parties, but I was like it just seemed a lot for that. But I do stand Senior Noodles. We I hope we see more of him this season.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping to actually
what National Taco Day is so I can mark it on my calendar, because I'm totally down for National Taco Day.
Totally. I was literally going to show up to this recording wearing a tiny sombrero, because I had a tiny sombrero that came with like a bottle of hot sauce. But then I remembered that I gave it to my friend who has a Chihuahua, and like, because I wanted them to wear the Chihuahua, wear a little tiny sombrero. Yeah. They never sent me a photo. I think they probably just threw it in the garbage. So I should probably I choose to believe the worst.
Yeah, I thought this was a fantastic episode too. I think it was Emily that mentioned something about like how Shannon tells people that John loves the limelight, and that's a lot of the reason that he's with her. I totally get that vibe. We have seen like a history of very thirsty husbands on Orange County that like people that have been mostly with Vicky, like Brooks was like that and Steve was like that, and I get the exact same vibe from John. So I like that was called out on screen. But I thought that this had some really funny moments in the edit. There was a scene where I've been really hard on Jenn this season because I think she's had a really bad season as a newbie housewife, but there's a very sweet scene with her and her adopted son where she's talking about like his birth mom, and then she says something like he wishes he had skin like his siblings, which is a very like he's reaching out by saying something like this, and her reaction is, I would kill to have skin like that. It's like such a tone deaf and like just went like right over her head. Like he's looking for a sense of belonging. She's like, man, I wish I could get a tan like that. Just really, you're missing the point here, Jen. There's like,
what he's actually trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Use your brain. A Spirit Halloween's going to open up there. But there was another great scene where we saw the Innocence Project and like doing like such valuable work, and we got like Gina and Emily talking about how like it really puts all your problems into perspective when you meet these people, and we get all these personal testimonials. And then immediately it cuts to Shannon being like, 3 couples aren't coming to my taco party. Just like so worked up about the like smallest thing, and I just really love the juxtaposition of those two scenes. It was amazing. So we heard in this episode that Heather sold her mansion for $55 million, which is a substantial price tag. I want to get your guys' thoughts though on the reason for moving into the LA apartment. Does it really make sense for her to move to LA just like in case she gets a last minute call to be
Mm.
on some sort of acting gig?
It doesn't seem to track with me, but I mean, what the fuck do I know about the acting industry in LA? But it does seem like a little suspicious that she'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna move out here in case my career revitalizes somehow. Like, you think you do that after you get the role, not like in anticipation of a role maybe coming at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, that seems a little confusing to me. When I actually I like rewinded it because I was like, did they just say 55 million? I was like, that is absurd. I've never heard that price before for house selling. I was like, maybe they said five. No, it was 55. But yeah, I'm sure there's probably other reasons. And then she even later said like their house, they signed an NDA and like can't disclose some things. I kind of got lost in that. So like I don't understand, like, so their place has sold but hasn't sold, and they're buying this apartment and they signed these papers, but they're not moving yet. So I was like, I have some
Yeah,
questions.
it felt to me like she was trying to imply that someone famous had bought her mansion or
Yeah.
something like that. I don't know if I buy it. Like, I don't feel like anyone super famous is moving out to Orange County. I don't know a lot about the landscape in greater LA. So, but it seems like Orange County is pretty removed from where anyone that is actively famous would want to be. I could see, people that kind of used to be famous wanting to maybe move to Orange County. But again, I really don't know. I live in Winnipeg, so that's about as far from LA, both physically and culturally, as you can get. Yeah, but I think that about covers it for me. How about you guys? Any final thoughts?
I just want somebody to love me as much as Gina loves denim. Why is that all her outfits? Is that how she's like trying to like project that she's like from New York? I don't know. It's cool though. I mean, she wears it well.
Yeah, at least she's got like a little bit of an identity in what she's going for. I think that's more than can be said about like a lot of the women in Orange County who just like default to athleisure on this show. So
yeah, for sure. Did you see the new Wes Anderson movie, by the way?
No, I didn't.
There's like a cowboy guy named Montana, and he just wears like head to toe denim all the time. And I don't know. He reminded me of Gina.
I did enjoy how Shannon was very upset with Emily, the Jekyll and Hyde comment. She very much focused on that. And I thought that was like, she seemed very upset about that. But like you said, Dylan, I did actually think Emily seems to really care for Shannon as a friend. And so when she said like, I'm sorry, and you could tell she was like, I'm sorry and I want to move on. Whereas I felt like when Heather and Shannon talked, there doesn't seem to be much moving on from them.
Yeah.
Especially they showed a scene and I was like, I need to go back and watch that season. It was Heather saying something to Shannon about don't you ever, like, it was very intense. I wish I remembered exactly what she said, but something about like, if you ever bring this up or say this, I will do this. And I was like, ooh, because Shannon mentioned something about her threatening her. And I was like, what was all of this about? So I was like, I need to watch that season.
Yeah, I think that was a clip from, well, they showed two clips. One was from last season when Heather made her return and Shannon came back. And I think that's the clip that you were talking about where she was like, if you ever say something about my family, I'll
Yes.
like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, Shannon was just like really messy at the beginning of she's always messy. She was just like being Shannon. And so yeah, it's last season was all right. Orange County, I wouldn't say it's like the best Orange County season, but I thought it had its moment. I really liked the two newbies from last season that didn't get a return. I was disappointed that we got new Jenn in place of old Dr. Jenn and Noella. I thought they were two good additions, but they were not very well liked by the fan base. So
Okay.
I think that maybe had something to do with them not coming back. But yeah, it was kind of a middling season. Last season, the peak of last season was the very last scene that we got where there's this they're like lip syncing to this song that was written called like I Do Whatever I Want, and it's just so brutal. They did this recording of it and they're all like pretending to play instruments, and it's amazing. It's an earworm, but it's like also very terrible. I definitely recommend at least watching that part.
I am very curious now. I will go check that out.